Hey guys, it's Justin from EV Access here. We got Ben, our YouTube resident, goes by Jeeves on YouTube. We're gonna go through what the comparisons are really quickly for his Kia EV9 he just got from Kia and our Rivian R1S and like really how it's performing as a rental.
Yeah, so I just did a video on this. Couple highlights. This is the GT trim, so $78,000 with options on this one. Kind of touches in the realm of where the R1S starts off, and then this is a $100,000 R1S because it's a max pack, has upgraded wheels, things like that. This is a solid vehicle. Does not have the air suspension or off-road capabilities that the Rivian does, but in my opinion, most people are never going to use that. Color is ocean blue, captain's chairs in the back, heated cooled seats in the front and the back, nice charging rate. I think potentially some issues with this could be is it still is a newer technology and they're not quite as software based as Rivian or Tesla is. But overall, it's a great value, excellent vehicle. I don't know, maybe something you may end up having in your fleet.
I think the color looks great. I think that these are plastic rim covers. As an owner, you might not like that, but as a rental car, that's easy to replace. They're scratched up. It's well sized. And what's the range on it?
300 miles, just over 300.
Is legit.
So it says Eco. It has these different modes, and that adjusts. If you put it in Sport, it has like 280. If you put it in Eco, it has like 315.
Okay.
So it's solid range,
Good
and
range.
I've felt that these actually deliver on their range.
Yep.
In comparison to like Tesla. I think one time you told me is that Bolt drivers, if they drive their car, they don't have to charge. Tesla owners driving the same distance, they're charging.
Yep.
So that's kind of interesting insight that you had here. But I'm curious as to how this Rivian does in comparison to Lucid. You have over 200 Teslas in your fleet.
Yep.
So what has happened with this so far in comparison to those other brands?
Yeah, so far, first things, the Rivian's not plug and play for charging. So at Tesla, you go to a Rivian charger, you can just plug it in. Quickly, we're learning, I actually didn't know this, you have to have your Rivian app and like your own wallet and a car connected to it to turn on the charger.
Right.
You don't just go plug it in, which is nice because we're not prepaying for their charging. Bad for every Rivian person that comes to use the car and they like get to a Rivian charger and like, oh wait, it doesn't work.
Oh.
So that's an odd one. I've had to start the charger one off for people who were like, they weren't gonna make it anywhere else.
Wow.
So that's a weird one. I think that's gonna change with Tesla. I'm sure it's gonna be plug and play with that and that's gonna be a lot more different. But that's like the first, like when you first had Teslas, like how do you reimburse people? Like how do you pull those like reimbursements? So that's been a learning curve.
Okay. So you have a rental fleet with a bunch of Teslas.
Yep.
What happens when they're billed? Do you go into an app and say this user charged X?
Yeah, we use standard fleet. You know, David.
Yep.
So we'll go through and say someone's on a 10-day trip. We'll go and use this. It's a fleet software, and we'll pull off like, hey, this guy did $100 in supercharging. We've actually already been billed for that. So we basically are fronting that cost, and then we bill them after the trip.
Yeah.
And I'd say it's like 99% of people understand that. 1% of people are like, why am I being billed? And then it's like a educational conversation of like, no rental car company ever is going to give you a free gas card.
Yeah.
And I'm not doing that.
Right. This is brought to you by Standard Fleet. Do you have a rental fleet at home? Use Standard Fleet.
Reach out to Tom. Yeah, so most of the renters are going to have to use Electrify America, unfortunately. People have their own issues that, or we leave the chargers inside the frunk. This is a pretty deep frunk. So we put them in the bottom half. If you have, what is it, the 14 NEMA?
NEMA 1450 is in there. So if you're renting a place, they might have that outlet, and that's really effective to be able to use that.
And even more common when they go to like Flagstaff, those older houses have their dryer ports anyways already in the garage.
Yep.
So I've heard of renters already being like, hey, there was a dryer in there, we just unplugged it.
Right.
And that seems to be the most common fit versus like a pre-planned like charger and stuff.
And like even though it doesn't add a ton, so here's the NEMA 1450. You could plug this in. It gives you a mile per hour. So if you don't drive the car for a day, you get 24 miles.
Yeah.
It's something.
Overnight, especially if they're going to be in Flagstaff for like 3 days and they're not driving very much, they can get enough out of it. Yeah. This part, I would say, it's already kind of flimsy. We haven't gotten anything like uninstalled like this right here. I don't know if that's intentional by them so they can peel it off, but things we notice.
The other thing we just noticed is this has 4,400 miles on it. If you take a look at the outer tread on the tires here, you can see this little pattern. On the right side of the vehicle, that's already worn off. And if you come to the rear of the vehicle, can see it's a drastic difference, and that's because it's a dual motor, so it defaults to front wheel drive. The drivetrain decouples, so it goes to front wheel drive and you have a lot more pooling. So it says to rotate the tires at 7,500 miles.
5,000 miles, I guess, is the mark.
Yeah, I think 5,000 might be the best way to do it to get max life.
You're only going to get like 2 rotations, so that means you're at 20,000 miles max. You're going to be replacing the tires.
30 would be lucky, and especially renters, just they're not driving these like it's theirs.
No. I would say the Rivian's mostly family people. You're not
Yeah.
going to get like the Corvette type people,
Yeah.
I guess. But I mean, it's probably going to be very similar with this car, is my guess.
Yeah.
And the weight is also, and these cars are not light.
Yeah.
So things that we've noticed, 5,000 miles that start to break, I think it's a pretty common thing. This interior trim on the R1S and the R1T. So this trim right here is starting to, you see that it's popping off right there. It can be popped back in, but that's been common on the R1S and the R1T, so that's just a manufacturer thing. The buttons are fine. That was a Tesla issue back in the day. They get pushed in a little bit. Ben was telling me this interior section on his R1T. How many miles do you have on yours?
2,000.
2,000, that's pretty early. This starts peeling away. We haven't had that issue yet. I also haven't tugged on it much, so.
Yeah, yours just sits more flush. Mine just doesn't. I don't know.
It just doesn't. And yeah, for renting wise, the key card seems to be the easier path. We were giving them out that expensive, like, you know, belt loop key, Ben.
Yeah, the carabiner.
I just felt like having to get replaced and pissing someone off and charging them $400 is like a pain in the ass. So we just started giving them a little key card.
Yeah.
So they've experienced that. It's a little bit more fidgety. Have you used the key card on it?
Yeah.
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 So.
I do like the carab. I do like a physical key. Sometimes click, go. You know how it works.
Yeah,
it's not confusing. So that's kind of nice. Now you also mentioned that with the Rivian network, if you own a Rivian, you come to Phoenix and drive this. So I own a Rivian. So if I rented this and took it to a charger, it would just charge my account.
Yes, correct.
So that's cool.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. But like I said though, if you don't have a Rivian,
then you
can't even use the Rivian charger on this. I have to like turn it on for them.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
a problem.
A pain.
So in terms of money, this is a $100,000 car.
Yep.
How does this compare to like a Model 3? If someone's starting out a rental fleet and they said, hey, should I get a Model 3 or should I get this?
Yeah, so right now you're thinking the payments are gonna be in that $1,200 range for a $100,000 car, give or take. This car has been over $2,000 every single month.
Wow.
So you're thinking about $800, and that's not net. Obviously there's some depreciation costs in there. There's like employee costs. They do well. There's just less of these. So I would say it might be safe. It might appear safer to buy a Model 3 and have one if you're gonna, you know, pick 1 or 2 cars. But this is probably a safer bet because not many people are gonna be going out and buying an R1S. You know, and that's my viewpoint on it. You also have higher risk though. If the car gets in an accident and it's out for 4 months, you're eating, you know, $5,000. You have a buffer for that. But if you get a Model 3 and it gets in an accident, it'll be faster to repair, first of all, because it's Tesla compared to Rivian right now. You're thinking your payment might be $550. You know, you have to eat $2,000, and your Tesla might profit $600.
Okay.
So I would say ROI percentage probably still the Model 3, but just like net time and return, the Rivians definitely make a little bit more.
Good to know. Yeah, plus that would probably vary per market. Phoenix is a competitive market.
And cars like this are much, much harder to insure. So if you were doing private rentals, it'd be hard to insure this. It's above $75,000.
Okay.
You could private rent a Model 3 with not knowing what you're doing pretty easily. You could get a GMI policy or something simple and you're good to go.
Okay, cool.
I appreciate you guys for watching. We also made a video about the R1S First Plaid. If you want a longer kind of detailed review on this car, watch this video right here. You guys should be all set.